Welcome to a Wednesday edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. It's Wednesday, December 4th. Thanks for being with us. I'm Madeline Burke alongside the Super Bowl champion Howard Cross. Phone number here is 201-939-4513, or find us on Twitter at #GiantsChat. And as a reminder, you can find the archive of this show and our entire podcast network on Giants mobile app, on podcast platforms everywhere, and giants.com/podcast. And as we get started on today's show of Big Blue Kickoff Live, with Howard Cross sitting to my left, I'd be remiss if I didn't just bring up the giant news in the world of football, that we have a possibility of a Howard Cross Bowl in the playoffs, because your Alabama and your son's Notre Dame, as it stands right now, could be facing each other in the first year of the 12-team college football playoff.
That is just not going to be a good moment for me.
I mean,
you got to cheer for your son. You got to pull for him. But, man, it's Alabama. Like, what? This couldn't have worked out any worse for me right now. Like, this is crazy.
Battle of Howard Cross.
He's already called me and goes like, what if I sack your quarterback? I'm like, well, you better sack the quarterback if you're playing in the game. And there he goes like, oh, yeah, that's right. You're cheering for me, aren't you? I'm like, yes, I am. I'm cheering for you. He goes, you're going to wear anything Alabama? I'm like, I'll have a T-shirt on, but you can't see it. It'll be so cold there.
Gotta have layers, maybe a Bama T-shirt, Notre
Bama
Dame
socks.
T-shirt, Bama hoodie, Notre Dame jacket, Bama hat, Notre Dame beanie. They will not even let me
in the stadium from wearing something from Alabama.
That's true.
That's
true.
Hilarious.
That's true. But it's interesting to see, of course, as it's all shaken out. We're watching it all come together, the first 12-team college football playoff season.
I think it's pretty funny. I thought when I was looking at it before, I'm like, this is so crazy, 12 games. Why would they have 12 teams? 4 was too many. This is ridiculous. Now I'm like, wow, this is probably the most exciting college season that I've watched. So many things are going on. You're waiting for every team.
Yeah.
Okay, who's in, who's out? They're still debating now. Like, Miami should be in. I'm like, Miami didn't really play anybody, did they? And they're like, oh, that's true. They didn't. It's been a lot of talk about everything. So
and no matter
exciting.
No matter how many teams you've got in the college football playoff, there's always going to be this is ridiculous. They got gypped and
It's always going to be the Florida State.
And yeah, that's true. I mean, Florida State this year is a very different year than last year too. But yeah, I mean, that you don't. There's no perfect science to it. There's no way to say, oh, these are the teams, and they're saying right now that the teams who are not playing in their conference championship game are kind of locked in where they are, which is interesting.
Yes, that's true.
But as a proud member of the Arizona State Sun Devil alumni community, I would just like to say, forks up right now. ASU currently 15th ranked, playing in the Big 12 championship game. In the beginning of the season, they were like, oh, hey, yeah, last ranked in the conference, and now they're playing for the championship, which is just proof that nobody knows anything. Nobody knows anything.
I will say that you guys are probably the smartest group when it comes to like sticking the flag in the middle of the field after the game. You take the biggest guy on your team to do it. Nobody really jumped him.
Plus, we don't have a flag; we have a pitchfork, so people get a little more intimidated.
They're like, you shouldn't do that. It was hilarious.
Rivalry week, am I right?
Yep, I love it.
Now, from college to the NFL, because that's why we're all here today. We had to get a little fun out of the way because of the impending Howard Cross Bowl. But the New York Football Giants head into Week 14 of the NFL season. Head coach Brian Daboll currently addressing the media right now. And the news coming out of that media availability, of course, the biggest headline, Drew Lock will be starting at quarterback this week as the Giants host the New Orleans Saints. Daboll says Tommy DeVito is progressing. He's got that soreness in his forearm. Monday, they had a walkthrough, and Darius Slayton said, he caught passes from both quarterbacks. But again, it was a walkthrough. It was a very limited workload. Daboll said, you know what, Drew Lock is going to be starting. We want to make sure that he gets maximizes his reps. And so we're going to name him starter this week. Tommy DeVito's progressing. He'll be QB2 if needed. But what do you make of Drew Lock as starting quarterback?
I make of it, I think more, you got to play the healthy guy, right? So, he's healthy. You got to give him a chance to go out there and show why they brought him here. With DeVito being sore, you don't want to put him in a situation where he re-injures or re-aggravates, and then you're down to almost one quarterback. I know you got another guy on the roster, but you want to keep your top two guys as healthy as possible all the time. And in this case, with Drew being healthy enough to play, you got to play him. I mean, with Tommy, I know he's going to be the backup, but at the same time, if he can't really throw, and if he's, can't protect himself, as they say, it'd be really hard to like put him in at the second quarterback. You might have to put him at the emergency quarterback.
Well, it's also tough that it's in his throwing arm. And when it's a forearm thing, you think, well, how hard can it be? But that affects your grip of the ball.
It affects everything.
Especially as cold as it is out here in East Rutherford right now.
And you're trying to spin the ball and get it out of your hands. It affects everything. When you're doing some of the weird handoffs and stuff, you might drop it. It takes a lot of strength, and your form is the big part of it.
Yeah. Now, as we start the week of practice for week 14, of course, today's the first full practice for this Giants team.
Okay.
Let's get some injury updates, shall we? Not practicing today, Jermaine Illuminor with a quad, Evan Neal with a hip, Tay Banks with a rib, Nacho with a neck, Bobby Okereke with a back injury. Dable says that those guys are considered week to week, have a chance this week, but it's too early in the week right now to tell how optimistic he would be.
It's really interesting. He said week to week and not day to day. That's not good.
Yeah. Not great. And it's, of course, Bobby Okereke, just one of 2 remaining captains healthy on the roster right now. So we're down Casey Kreider if Bobby Okereke can't play. But if Bobby can't play, it's going to be Micah McFadden probably wearing the green dot. Darius Muasau also good to go, good to play.
Okay.
So at the linebacker position, definitely some shakeups there.
It's going to be very interesting if Bobby can't play. But that's going to be a big, it's a big drop off when certain guys go out. But Kreider, he does such a great job calling the plays. He does such a great job getting to the ball and getting guys in the right spot. The team, he's not just a captain; he's a real leader out there. So it's going to be interesting to see how the guys are able to, coordinate their defense when that guy's not on the field.
Right, absolutely, and also too the way that Bobby can get after the ball and kind of punch it loose, and we've seen his physicality in that regard. When you're going up against a New Orleans Saints team that has a proclivity to fumble the rock a couple of times, you need a guy like that can kind of punch it out.
Well, hopefully he can coach the guys up between now and Sunday, because if his back is sore, that is not the team. That's not a good team to be playing against.
Absolutely not. Now, Theo Johnson, tight end, rookie tight end, he's been put on IR. He had surgery on his foot. So that is another one that
surgery on his foot. You need a foot to play.
Well,
football.
Usually, it is called football. So I think the foot is an important part of the game.
That's too bad. He's having a kind of a breakout year so for himself. So that's too bad. I really wish him well. Get healthy soon, there, kiddo.
Absolutely, yeah. It's tough to see the end, especially coming off of that game, last week on Thanksgiving against the Cowboys, especially in the fourth quarter. He was getting really active, 5 for 5.
Yeah.
Was getting involved in the passing game, and he's a special player. He's a big body target, physical tight end who, you saw him working for those Yak too. This is a guy who can really get some yardage.
And he kind of caught on to start getting to the floor of the game, started running better routes, and his game speed started to pick up because he got more, I guess, comfortable with what was happening. So you could see him getting faster and faster and faster. I'm like, okay, he's catching on. He's starting to get it. And you can see the big change in him. It kind of, you saw it when it clicked. It clicked really quickly.
Right, absolutely. Now, Dexter Lawrence also put on season-ending IR with an elbow injury. He will not require surgery, so that's always a good thing.
Is it his right hand or his left hand?
Left?
Left, okay. So he can still eat. He'll be fine.
I mean, first of all, he'll find a way. And this man in his chunky soup commercial.
Yeah, that's what I'd say. You got to make sure you got to keep his commercials rolling. But Dex is going to be missed. That's one of the best defensive players in the league, not just on the team. He's like one of the top defensive linemen in the league. At one point, he was leading the league in sacks. So,
absolutely, had a career season in sacks, and at one point was really leading the voting in Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see what the team's going to be without Dexter. You always can tell the change when he's not in the game, how they kind of run towards the middle a little bit more. So these guys got to know they're going to pick it up, and hopefully some more bodies get in there too.
Well, especially the way that the Giants defense has struggled against the run. Losing Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeau talked about it, earlier this week and said, when he's not there, I can anticipate that they're going to play us differently as a defense. They're going to be approaching the Giants differently. I mean, teams have had to kind of send 2 guys right at Dexter Lawrence to handle that.
To try to slow him down.
Slow him down. Yeah. And so without that threat in the middle,
that means Thibodeau will get more attention.
Burns will get more attention.
Yeah, so it's gonna be crazy. Somebody in the middle is going to stand up and make a play.
Yeah, hey diddle diddle, who's standing up in the middle? We shall see. But yeah, a bunch of injuries on the Giants defense, which is unfortunate because again, this Giants defense was so strong to start the season. At one point, the Giants defense as a whole leading the league in sacks. Injury is always a tough thing to happen. But on a bright note, on the injury front, linebacker Deontay Johnson, his practice window is open. He's designated for return from IR, so it'll be good to have some more bodies back in the linebacker room. But yeah, a lot of injuries on the defensive line.
Cornerback Tay Banks has been injured a lot.
And Tay, again, not practicing today.
Yep.
So,
but, Cordell Flott's doing a great job, but he can only play one side of the field at a time. So,
yeah.
It's interesting.
So, yeah, a lot of injuries. Guys will have to step up. And then Josh Azudu, he's going to get a shot at tackle in practice today because, again, Jermaine Illuminor and Evan Neal both out of practice.
Wow. I mean,
so
it's a lot.
Banged up this Giants team is. And it's tough to say because you got, 5 games left to play. And, it's a lot of ball game left. But these are all professionals and it's next man up, and these guys are going to have to take the best advantage of the opportunity given them.
I mean, again, I just think that with this team, they have to keep trying to fight to get every yard they can get, everything they can get. And when these guys go down, and you don't want anybody to get hurt, but as a player that's playing behind them, it's your opportunity to shine. Like, you get some reps, you get some tape, as we used to say. They don't usually use tape anymore, but you get some digital. But you get some
iCloud content.
Yeah, you get some tape out there, and like when the season's over and they start to evaluate players and who they need and what's going on, you might wind up on another team with a nice little contract because they saw you play in 2 or 3 games, and they really are focused on from their scouting. You probably your last 4 outings. They can't really focus on your entire season. So if you wind up playing 3 or 4 games at the end of the season, people are like, oh man, I didn't know he could play like that. And they really look at it. They look at how the team's going. Of course, the Giants are struggling. You come out and you put on a really good performance these last few games, and teams are looking at you like, well, they better not let him go because we're in the market. So that's how teams basically are shopping this time of year.
Absolutely. And you're putting that tape out there, not just for the Giants, but all 32 teams in the NFL.
Absolutely.
Giants fans, make sure you go and subscribe to the Giants Huddle podcast. It features long-form interviews with Giants players, coaches, and front office staff, past and present. Plus, you'll hear from the best analysts covering Big Blue and the NFL. Search for Giants Huddle and subscribe on your favorite podcast platforms or go to giants.com/podcast. And don't forget, if you're on Apple Podcasts, leave us a 5-star positive review for all of our Giants podcasts. Let us know what you think. Like, comment, subscribe. You know the drill. 201-939-4513 is the phone number as we head to the phone lines. Big Ed in Maryland is our first caller of the day. Big Ed, how's it going? You're on Big Blue Kickoff Live with Howard and Madeline.
What's up, Ed?
Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing?
Doing good, man. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving.
No?
No.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And the game didn't help much. But actually, it wasn't that bad, though, because we did play well.
Yeah.
There you
There
go.
you
You were talking about flat and all that, so yeah, it wasn't too bad. It's just like you already know what it's going to be now, so it's more like,
Be competitive.
the mistakes that we've made as a whole as toe to toe. But look, Howard,
I'm listening.
I have to share this dream, bruh. Now, you remember what I said at the beginning of the season? We supposed to be 10-0, right?
Yes,
Look where
we
we
are.
at.
Uh-huh.
Now, tell you, this how I know we would have been 10-0. Had we kept Saquon, Daniel would have performed well like he did Brian Dable's first season. That would be true. We would be right there with Detroit with that record. But, unfortunately, circumstances went left instead of right. So, here's what I had, man. Okay, do you remember that game? I think it was like maybe a week ago. Cincinnati was playing someone on national TV. I think it was Sunday night game.
Okay.
Right?
Pittsburgh.
They lost.
Chargers.
Chargers or Pittsburgh?
Yeah. Okay, look. At that very moment, had I had a personal number to reach y'all with or upper level with, at that very moment, I would have called and said, hey, if you don't go get that Joe Burrows and make him a Giants quarterback, you better.
Chargers are. Cincinnati
But also,
would never let
to
go.
get a player from another team, that other team has to be willing to part with that player.
Have to want to part with that player.
Well, see, that's just it. He's frustrated. Think about it, y'all. He's been doing great. right? He's been playing upper level ball. Even when he got hurt and came back, he still played upper level ball.
Yep.
Him with this team. See, what I realize is what seems that nobody seems to have said yet is Daniel Jones did not adjust to being a New York City Giants quarterback.
I don't believe that.
I don't believe that.
Yeah, I don't believe that.
I do. Listen. Let's look at all the years he's been a Giant quarterback.
Well,
he had the issues with different coaches, different players, different situations.
So how's that his problem?
Started, and he never seemed to adjust it. No,
I won't. You know, that's like what they say. Talk ill of the dead, so to speak. So you got to remember, Daniel played through one of the worst offensive lines in history in one season. Broke his neck twice, and literally broke his neck twice, and he did everything he could do while he was here. You know, I feel, I wish him all the luck in the world as he goes forward. I wish him well, but I'm not going to sit here and say Daniel wasn't a quarterback. He's not only a good person, a great person, and didn't take shots at anybody who was walking out the door, just like, hey, I appreciate everything you've done for me. If you don't mind, could you release me?
Yeah.
Right, and
that was a smart move too, because he understood that him sticking around here would be almost distracting for everyone else.
He didn't want to be a part of the distraction, so he's like, that's it.
Yeah. I have nothing but respect for him, and I think he did the best he can with what he was given. But like you said, there was a lot of turnover, a lot of changes, and that it's not something within his control.
Yeah, you can't pick the offensive line. He couldn't pick the receivers. He couldn't pick the tight end. He couldn't pick anybody that was with him. That he was just hanging out doing what he had to do.
Yeah, and then it's like another way to look at it is like some way of it it was just supposed to happen the way it did.
Yeah.
Not much more we can do.
That's for wishing him well as he goes in his next adventure.
Oh look, okay, Howard. Let me finish sharing the good dream. Right?
Okay.
So with Joe Burrow's his quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
We have to figure out the running game a little better. Make sure our running backs don't fumble. Because we got good receivers. They just got to get the ball in a better place.
Okay.
But then it gets better. Here's how we get better on defense. We go take Leonard Williams back from Seattle. Mm. We get Michael Parsons from Dallas. We get, I think, like another safety. We'll probably try to get Hamilton from Baltimore. And I'm crazy with the dream.
This is a great dream, but I don't.
The salary cap,
it's like I will take your best player. I will take your best player.
Right, and put that in this defense because you check it out. You got Thibodeau and Burns on the corner. Mm-hmm. All you need is Williams and Lawrence to stop the middle. Mm-hmm. With Michael Crazy Parsons really acting like Lawrence freaking Taylor with the Giants defense. Are you kidding me? All we need is a good safety in the back to cover the deep end with the corners not giving up too much space. I wish they would really stop. I know I'm going to say that. Corners, please stop giving them 5-7 yards a distance. You have to play up on them when they come off that line. It gives you an advantage as a corner to give them the hard bump and run under that 5 yards.
Well, it depends on what the coverage is. They have to play within the confines of the defense.
20 or whatever like that. Yeah, okay, you can play 5 a few yards back, but then you still want to give them that edge where they always seem to getting somebody across the middle. So let them know about that.
Yeah, it's part of it.
Yeah, so I guess that's all. I'm gonna try to get back with y'all. Oh yeah, in 2 weeks, my birthday.
All right, man. We'll have a good time. I hope we'll talk to you on your birthday.
Yeah, happy almost birthday, Big Ed. I respect Big Ed's audacity.
Birthday wishes right there.
My birthday wish is that I can go throughout the league and take my favorite player from each squad, and the salary cap is irrelevant, and they're all gonna come and play here and win.
Yeah,
and
so
you know
funny.
what? Gotta have dreams. I respect it.
There is no salary cap. There's he basically picked the top paid guys in every team. Like, we're just gonna bring them back.
Yeah, just bring them over here.
It'll be fine.
Come on down. The price is right.
And Cincinnati, you really don't like Joe Burrow that much. If you trade him, you get so much for him. The Giants want him. Just let him go. Like that's not happening.
I like it. He's frustrated. Of course he's frustrated. He's leading the league in passing yards. And They have a sub 500 record, and they have a losing record.
And one of his star receivers is almost always hurt.
Yeah.
His offensive line suspect to be at best, but he's like, just okay, guys,
But
let's keep going.
on a bright side for Joe Burrow, if you watched Hard Knocks, you know that he bought a Batmobile. A real live Batmobile that he will not be getting for a year. It's not street legal, but it is an actual functioning Batmobile. So gotta have dreams.
Yeah, I guess that's why he said he wants to bring him to Gotham City. Ding, 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 ding. I was wondering why he said that.
The lob, the jam. We set it up right there.
But he said that's what he said. Because we got to get Joe Burrow in Gotham City. I'm like, that's Gotham City. What's he talking about? But okay, that's
Batman.
That's the old school Batman right there.
I know, right? It's like the after school programs. I remember that one. Listen, I respect it though. You got to look around and say, this is my dream. And then when you bring it to reality, say, okay, what are the ways in which, we can adjust this and we can and get
there are like a couple players here and there that if they, as they grow, this is a good year for them to like continue to work and find themselves a little bit more. But as they grow going forward, they're going to have to step it up. And you're going to have got to get a guy that's going to be. You can't get another Dexter Lawrence, I know, but if you get a guy that can be his running mate, so to speak, in the middle, that's going to help out a lot.
There you go.
T. Banks is, it can come back to his form of his rookie year. I know a lot of tape on him, so people are watching him now, and they're like, like anything else, like pitchers and anything, if you watch him enough, you start studying him, you try to figure out how to beat him, and that he's got to like watch himself now and try to figure out how to beat the players. What was he doing differently than he was doing his freshman year or his rookie year? I think that'd be good. I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Evan Neal at the end of the year. He's playing pretty decent now. He's finally come back in and he's doing okay. But you just said he was on the injury report, which is astounding. I'm like, holy smokes, like he just got in there. So hopefully he's healthy enough so he can continue to show that he can be a not a serviceable but a pretty good tackle. He's played pretty good the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. 201-939-4513 is the phone number as we head back to the phone lines. Our next caller for the day, Dave in Michigan on the line. Dave, what's going on? You're on Big Blue Kickoff Live with Howard and Madeline.
Congratulations beating Ohio State. But go ahead.
Right?
Hey,
hope you avoided that pepper spray after.
Hey guys, it's been about a year since I talked to you guys.
Okay.
And last year, Madeline, I don't know if you remember, called right before Thanksgiving, and I gave thanks for both you and Howard, and I actually apologized to Madeline because for some time I kind of avoided because I told you that there's something about listening to women calling football I didn't like. Like, you are great. You are absolutely great.
Thank you. Changing hearts one person at a time. I respect it.
Winning them over.
I mean, that really does mean a lot, Dave, because I respect it. There's a lot of people who kind of think that way, and it means a lot that you said that.
You are so knowledgeable, and I love listening to both you guys.
Well, thank you.
You. Very thankful for your call again this Thanksgiving season.
Well, I wanted to just ask you guys. So let's play general manager a little bit. First of all, I want to say this. I'm not generally. I don't think I'm smart enough to be the GM. I had the money or had inherited the team. I do feel after 40 years of being in business and things like that I do like giant organization.
You're cutting in and out. You're cutting in and out.
Like, yeah, is what would I do as an owner? And what I would do, one thing is I would have told the Shane and Dave, well, you guys are safe for next year. Don't worry about your jobs. We're going to be in this together. And the other thing I would say to him if I was advising him on PR, which I've done in my career, is I think you don't wait till the end of the season. And I think John Mara should do like a 30-minute avail with reporters and just lay it out to say, look, it's been a tough year. I'll address everything at the end, but for now I want to say that we're in this together. James Dayball are going to be coming back. We're going to have a great draft. We're going to have a great free agent season, and we're going to come back fighting stronger than ever. And, Like, I think there's so much destructive chatter right now in social media, on WFAN, et cetera, that I think he needs to come out and clear the air before the end of the season.
Well, historically, like the Mara and Tisch family, the Maras specifically, they don't do that part of it. They don't really come out and talk to the media. They're not pulling a Jerry Jones and sitting up every week trying to explain why and what they're doing, or trying to get some hype around their team like Woody is over with the Jets. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. If you own the team, you can speak as much as you like.
Sure.
But they're usually trying to let the football operations work. Try to work their way through it. Unfortunately, the last few years, there's been some bad things happen. And if they listen to the press or listen to the people who are sitting behind mics like me and talking and trying to get, we're trying to get hits, we're trying to get listened to, we're trying to get attention. We want more eyes, we want more ears, we want more of everything. That's not part of the team, unfortunately. It's just not. And
yeah.
And it's hard for, an owner to hear all of this and not react to it.
I go back a long time, Howard, and I'm telling you, the Maras acted after season ticket holders were burning their tickets on the outside of the stadium. They were watching and listening, and there was a guy who flew a plane over the stadium that said, something. I mean, they do. I just think this year is the one time they should come out. Anyway, I just want to say one more thing, which I don't. What's frustrating about the Giants is that you can point to one or both of the same thing over 10 years, multiple GMs, multiple coaches, and that is this. Either Eli going towards the end of his career, which I think was cut prematurely short by the fact that they didn't invest properly in the offensive line, and then since Daniel Jones, it's been a combination of is he the quarterback, and plus we don't know because the offensive line is trash. and I as a longtime Giant fan, old-time ball player, offensive line, like I go into next year's draft thinking, okay, I know we need a quarterback. Here's the dilemma. Do we sign somebody we think has a lot of potential if we leave him in there, like a Justin Fields, and then trade the pick to get a package so that we can get some really good developmental guys, guys on the team, and sign? And the other thing I would do is I would absolutely sign probably two veteran offensive linemen, because I'm not sure, as much as I like Van Roten, if he's coming back to his age. But, and because this idea that most offensive linemen takes 3 years before you can pick them off the tree and rely on them, with the exception of this guy Fashanu on the Jets, which you talk about a guy who was plug and play ready.
Yeah, Joe Alt
and Chargers,
Joe Alt, another guy. Mm-hmm. Like, why can't we get the plug-and-play offensive lineman out of college? What is with our scouting organization?
I don't think it's...
We get these guys who take 3 years to develop into anything, and then they don't develop.
Some of them do, some of them don't. In a lot of cases for the Giants, unfortunately, they just have missed on some of these linemen. They're not producing the same way they produced in college, and it's tough. At one point, they even changed offensive line coaches, trying to get more out of them. I think they played better this year than they played in the past. But again, with injuries, they're still you got to plug them. You got to put more guys in there. As far as the pick goes, as you were talking about, I love
Andrew Thomas. But guy just whatever reason cannot stay in the field. I worry about this injury because not when I played, but later on, I had the same injury. And I was listening to Sean O'Hara talk about his. And Sean was a big guy, but Andrew Thomas is a bigger guy. I'm actually a big guy. And I've never been the same. Like, I feel that pain, like it's something. So I worry that he's not really ever going to be 100% again.
Yeah, I mean, the treatment, like, you probably didn't get the same level, not that you didn't have a good doctor or anything, but the way they treat you here and the therapy that you get, and you're in therapy, like
it's a full-time job.
Yeah, it's like it's part of your job. It's part of your everyday routine. Like when we get
True.
surgery on something now, I had my knee replaced. I went to the therapist for rehab. Once or
twice a week?
Twice a week, maybe 2 or 3 times a week. Where if I had a knee surgery here, and when I did have knee surgery here, I had therapy twice a day.
Yeah.
So it's a big difference.
By the way, Howard, I've had 3 knee replacements off of very unremarkable football career.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
Anyway, listen, I love you guys, and keep it up. As dismal as this season is, and as despondent as I get, you two, and Schmelk and Dottino, I go back to college with Dottino. you guys somehow keep me plugged in and caring.
No,
I'm happy to hear it.
Well,
Thanks so much for the call, Dave.
Well, he said he had a lot to say. Didn't really,
Yeah.
I think that the thing he was talking about, like, what would you do if you were the owner? If you were he wanted to come out and say, give them the vote of confidence. Usually not a good sign when someone gives you the vote of confidence.
Right. Well, it's also too, you worry about doing that because in this moment, and so many things are so fluid in any situation, and you don't want to say something now and then put it, be held to something down the road. And I also think too, it just complicates it. The more, like you talk about, like there's some teams that, the ownership makes statements regularly or makes appearances regularly, and quotes from those appearances can be taken and ran with and taken any which way. And
you don't get all of it.
And you don't want to overcomplicate things. I think if you just kind of keep your head down and do the job and,
Yeah, I think the Joe and Dayball, like, I think they're all right. I think the John Merritt's frustrated, like all the fans probably are. But I don't think he's really looking at too far down the road. He's trying to make sure, holy smokes, how bad is Dex's injury? Okay, now, does he need surgery? How bad? He's concerned about that. Like Andrew Thomas's surgery. Okay, well, how far along is he? When is he coming back, and how healthy will he be? So he's looking at it like everybody else is looking at it around in the building, and that's what. Let's take care of these players. Let's make sure these guys are going to be okay. We're losing some guys left and right, so the expectations aren't great. The outlook isn't great. I want to put a competitive product on the field. I got to make sure that we have enough bodies in here to do that, and that's what that's what he's hoping that Shane and everybody can do and pull.
Right.
And that's probably the biggest concern right now. I don't think it's what he was talking about, and I don't think you go out and I said I was with Chris Russo the other night, and I said the difference is that when we listen to a Chris Russo screaming into the radio, and that's part of the gimmick and part of the act, and it's awesome, and it's fun to listen to, but you can't get blown away by it. If you listen to X now and the people on X, giving people voices is great, but they don't run teams and they don't run organizations, and you can get told or explained to, or someone can try to tell you anything. It's what they feel at the moment, and they're emotional about it. Who knew what 6, 8, 9, 10 months ago or weeks ago when Tomlin was pulling Justin Fields to put in
Russell
Wilson. Oh man, you got to
ride the hot hand.
You got to ride the hot hand. He's the guy, and then all of a sudden Tomlin puts him in there, and they're winning. Everybody's like, oh, I guess he knew. Yeah, I guess he knew. So he's fortunate to have two quarterbacks that can get stuff done like that. And somebody said he rehabbed 2 quarterbacks' career at the same time.
Yeah, at the same time.
So it's pretty good.
Sometimes you do have to kind of listen to what the people want, right? The NFL is a business, and I understand, these owners are looking at the fans, and if the fans are unhappy, the fans are the consumers, and if
Absolutely,
the consumers
100%.
are unhappy with the product, there is a level in which you want to listen to it. But to your point about Tomlin, you think about Steve Jobs with Apple. I mean, how many people have an Apple iPhone or an Apple product in their rotation on a regular basis? Apple never goes out and puts out questionnaires to consumers. What do you guys want next? They just make it and they say, here, this is what you got. And anytime there's a software where everyone's like, oh, this is different, I don't like it, and then they adjust because Apple instead of asking the people what they want, they say, no,
This
is what we are giving you. We know what we're doing, and you guys are going to, and everyone does. And so I think there's a balance of, yes, we want to listen to the consumer and we want to give them what they want, but also we want to trust that our initial direction and our initial decision was the correct one. And it takes a lot. I mean, you look at the San Francisco 49ers last year, they're in the Super Bowl. This year, they're 5-7 in the season. The sky is falling because of why? Injuries. Injuries are a huge storyline. And the Giants, same thing. The last 2 years, I mean, Andrew Thomas getting hurt the last 2 years is a huge factor in the Giants' success and failures. And, you know, the amount of injuries that the Giants have currently that they have had in recent years. And if you look at the recent, you know, losing seasons in the last 5, 6, 8 years.
Been marred with injuries.
Marred with injuries. And those are things that it's, you know, some of it you can control with preparation and off-season fitness and taking care of your body. And some of it, this is a high physicality contact sport that you're going to get hurt in. And so some of it is the luck of the draw.
Well, if you go all the way back to Coach Coughlin was coming in, he was talking about the same thing, like how many injuries does this team have? Like what's going on with these guys? We got to figure something out. And like he said all that. Team won 2 Super Bowls in his tenure while he was here, but he had a team that was constantly somebody was always injured.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it doesn't go away from you. I played 13 seasons and missed 1 game, and I was like, I always think back to it. I'm like, all the injuries I played with, you know, it's just a different world. It's not like that anymore. I broke my hand in a game, like the first play of the game, played the rest of the game, you know, tape it up, dislocated my shoulder, put a strap on it. Like we just kept going. It's just nowadays, if something like that happens, you come out of the game. We need to sit you down. Like,
well, because now it's different. I mean, you know, when you were playing, first of all, social media, I think, has opened the world of keeping up with people so much better. You know, back in the day, it used to be, I didn't see anyone I went to high school with until the 30-year reunion. And now you can follow them on social media and know they just had a kid or a grandbaby or whatever happens. Whereas now, and when it comes to football, people are seeing former players. It's like, this guy got banged up a lot when he played, and, you know, now his back hurts, his knee hurts, everything like that. And he's like, I want to have a life after football. I want to take care of my body in a way.
Yeah. Well, the players do that now. But here's the other side of it. And I love this. This is our job. We have to do things like this. We make money doing things like this, but we expose so much.
Yes. Yeah.
We talk about it so much, and like I tell people all the time, you love hot dogs, but you don't want to see them made.
I don't love hot dogs. No.
But that's America. But that's kind of the point, though. Like people are like, man, like if you saw us going into it, you wouldn't really want to eat it. You wouldn't want anybody serving it to you. You wouldn't want anything to do with it. But if you don't see it, you're like, okay,
throw some mustard on it.
Let's go. Give me a dirty water dog or something. Wherever there was people eating in the city, but like, it's just different. And I mean, to me, I'm like, I recognize that's what part of it is. And the more people listen, the more people want to comment, people want to talk about it. You know, they feel more connected to the game, and that's what the league has wanted to do, and they've done a great job with it.
That's true. That's absolutely true. And if you want to feel more connected to the game, Giants fans, you can take your fandom to the next level with its season ticket membership. Stay connected to the club all year round, not just on game days. Memberships available for the 2024 season. To learn more about all the exclusive member benefits, visit giants.com/tickets. Limited inventory is available. 201-939-4513 is the phone number. Let's head back to the phone lines. We've got Mike in Fort Myers on the line. Mike, you're on Big Blue Kickoff Live with Madeline and Howard.
Nice and warm down there.
And
yes, it is. Yes, it is. I'm going to give you 4 concepts, folks, to talk about, and I'll take them offline because I'll have more of my retirees jabbing at me that I didn't cover something that we cover.
Okay.
And they are not Giant fans. They are Cardinal fans.
Okay.
They are Eagle fans, etc.
Okay.
But one question. If Locke is the quarterback,
okay,
does it make sense to move Hyatt to the slot and ask him to function the way Sterling Shepard did? That was number 1.
Okay.
Number 2,
the
folks are saying that our defensive backs are looking for the big hit and not wrapping up. That's number 2. And the third question follows up on what you had. You say it takes linemen a few years to develop. I'd like to know about that guy that came from Notre Dame last year, and he was regarded as the plug-and-play left tackle.
Joe Alt.
Is he in fact a plug-and-play left tackle? Can you get one like that? So I'll take everything offline, and keep on going there, gang.
Thanks so much.
Thanks so much for the call, Mike. All right, let's start. I wrote these down because I didn't trust either of us to remember them.
Wow.
But great topics. Mike in Fort Myers, producer of BBK segment 5 today. I really respect it. First of all, his first point, Jalen Hyatt, asking if it would make sense to move him to the slot in a Sterling Shepard type role. We saw Hyatt with 2 catches on Thursday on Thanksgiving against the Cowboys.
Well, there's 2 things with that. You can't just move him to the slot and just leave him in the slot because it doesn't create anything to disguise, or they'll start playing somebody up on him or get somebody in front of him. I think the way that offenses have been run, especially this offense, he's been inside, he motions out, he comes outside, he comes motioning in. The ideal is trying to get him one-on-one on the outside and get him a little bit off the ball to get the guy's hands off of him. The kid is fast, he's catching a couple passes, gets him more energized, more active, and wants to be more part of the game. Shepard and him are 2 different guys, though. Very.
I think Shep and Wandale are more similar.
Yeah, the slot guy is usually a smaller, quicker in small space kind of guy, whereas Hyatt is thought to be, an outside receiver, like a burner, kind of like him and Slayton are kind of embody the thought that if we can get them on the edge, get them one-on-one with, or even with you, they could pass you, and that's what they're trying to do. And the way to get him in that is to put him in motion sometimes, and to get him outside. But I do like the idea of putting him in the slot sometimes, but he can't just be standing in the slot.
Right, you got to move him around a little bit. And I think too, what we saw is that he got involved late in the game. I mean, he got involved in the second half. Drew Lock kind of hit him with a couple mid-range targets. I think if you get going to Hyatt, he and Daniel didn't ever kind of fully develop that chemistry, that timing to get that deep pass down. He was able to get a couple PI calls and all that kind of stuff and create the threat of the deep pass, but they weren't able to fully make it happen with maybe a week of reps because, again, Drew Lock started on Thursday with no practices. They just did walkthroughs leading into that game and an uncertainty of who was playing starting quarterback. So now this week you've got a week of reps as QB1 in practices, in full-length practices. You're getting more acclimated. Maybe work that timing a little bit and get that going.
Well, and if we're talking about the deep ball, the overs, the crosses, and everything else, he can still run without problem. It's the deep ball. The deep ball is going to have to be something he has to create separation to have.
Yes.
And that's the onus is going to be on Hyde in that situation.
Absolutely.
Second question was.
He says the DB is looking for the big hit, not wrapping up, and there are some times where it does look like the priority is on punching the ball out instead of getting the guy down first. You can see guys going for the ball a little bit, but what do you make of this comment?
It depends on. It's 2 things that happen when you see a guy when they miss a tackle. What he's really talking about is usually the running backs.
Yeah.
When the running backs are breaking through the hole and the guys are trying to hit them, they're trying to slow them down to let everybody else get to them because in some cases Flott is not going to be able to tackle some of these running backs. As far as the receivers go. They're not really like this past game. I thought there were a couple plays where they could have intercepted the ball. They knocked the ball down, but it wasn't going for a big hit. Big hits have been basically legislated out of football. So if a guy throws his shoulder, that just means he's off balance and he's it's his Hail Mary kind of to try to get the guy down. But they're not going for big hits. I think that most of the times when we see the missed tackles by the DBs is usually a back coming out of the backfield, and they're trying to get the right angle on him to make sure they can not get run over, 1, and 2, slow him down enough so he can get some help. Like, hey, buddy, he's over here. I see him. He's like, he's coming at me. Let me slow him down. How do I get in front of him? And the guy jukes and gets you in a bad position. You're on Sports Center. So they're doing the best they can in those situations.
That they are. Okay, his next point. See, this is why I had to write them down because I already forget what this means. Linemen taking years to develop. Talking about
he was one to
3
know,
years.
can we find a plug and play guy
like a Joe Alt at left tackle for the Chargers? Yes.
Yeah. So we had a plug and play guy in JMC out there. He's one. Our center's plug and play. They brought him in as a rookie.
John Michael Schmitz. Although there have been games this season where he's
struggled. Yeah, but he's playing.
Yes.
Okay, but he so.
Well, I guess it depends on how you define plug and play.
So if he wants a plug and play Pro Bowler like Alt is,
I think that's what he's talking about.
So
yeah.
They're few and far between.
I mean, Joe Alt could have been a number 1 overall pick if left tackle was a number 1 overall pick type of position.
No, left tackle's number 1.
I mean, it is, but I mean, in this year's draft.
Yeah, there's a lot of quarterbacks this year.
Yeah.
But he's been left tackle his whole life. His dad had him at left tackle. I think he played 1 year of tight end. He goes like, yeah, I think you're more of a tackle. You should start thinking about it. And he's just been groomed for that his entire life. Finding players that are groomed to play a position and that's their major commitment to it, it's hard to do.
Right.
And you got to also have the right coach to, quote unquote, develop him in these mini camps, these OTAs and everything coming up to the season, because you're not really going to be doing pads and you're not really going to be, getting that physical work in that we used to do back in the day, and it's hard to learn how to do it without having contact to do it.
Right.
And so if you're not ready right out of college, it takes time to develop to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they thought that Andrew Thomas was going to be a plug and play guy. He was kind of a plug and play guy, but he hurt his foot his first year, and then the next year he comes back and all of a sudden he's a Pro Bowler.
Well, you look at Evan Neal, a guy who coming out of college, durability was his selling point. I mean, this man didn't miss any time. He'd never been hurt. Comes into the pros, get hurt.
He gets hurt and he's nicked up. Yeah.
And it's not only missing time, but it's also, like, as a professional athlete, as a person who takes athletics as a big part of their life, learning how to come back from an injury is a different element. And if you haven't gone through that process before, that's a whole nother mountain that you're like, wait, I have to learn how to do this at this level?
Well, I think that's part of it. I think the biggest part of it was like trying to convince him that he was hurt.
Right. Well, because sometimes, like you said, guys are like, I can play. I'm good. I can play.
Can you go? Yeah, I can go.
I'm good.
Like, you don't look like you can go. Well, I can go. And it's not hurting the player as much as it's hurting the rest of the guys, because if you can't get yourself in position, you just can't get yourself in position.
Right.
So that's one thing. He's looked, like I say, he's looked tremendously better since he's been back, but we still have time, and we still got. I guess the book is still out on him. He needs to stay healthy. He needs to play some more plays, and then let's see what they go with.
And again, he's Evan Neal week to week with a hip injury right now, not practicing today.
When they say week to week, that is never good. Like day to day is always good.
Sure.
Week to week sounds like he may not be playing, so that could be interesting if he's not on the field.
No. We'll see. Giants fans, the Giants official connected TV streaming app Giants TV brings original video content and game highlights on demand and direct to Big Blue fans. Giants TV is free on Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire TV, and on the Giants mobile app. Howard, we've got a game on Sunday back at MetLife Stadium.
Yes, we do.
The New Orleans Saints. No, I'm not going to go all Chip Kelly. The New Orleans Saints coming to town.
Chip Kelly.
The Saints sitting at 4-8 on the season.
Mm-hmm.
Giants at 2-10, struggling.
A lot of injuries already.
A lot of injuries on both sides of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at this matchup, the Giants have had a long week since their last game.
Mm-hmm.
Back at home at MetLife Stadium. When you look at the rest of the season, the schedule for the remainder of the season, this one feels like, if you're a Giants fan, this one's like, okay, this is our best chance to get a dub. Right now. You need a momentum swing. You need some good vibes.
They've had chances to get dubs in the last few games. I'm not going to make this game as the one. But
no, I mean, moving forward. We're not looking in the rearview mirror. We're moving forward. I mean, the Baltimore Ravens, that's going to be a tough one, especially considering the Giants' run defense.
Mm-hmm.
The Falcons.
The Baltimore might decide they don't want to run the ball.
Well, I don't know. Lamar Jackson's mom yelled at him for not running enough. And then they're going into the bye. So the next time the Ravens are on the field, they're going to be playing the Giants with Lamar's mom in his ear. My baby needs to run the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. Well, I think if we look at the Saints, I think that if the defense can hold up against the run, specifically hold up against the run, they'll have it'd be a muddy game, it'd be an ugly game, but they'll have a shot to win. If they can't hold up against the run, they got some pretty decent receivers on the outside, and not holding up against the run makes the play action, and those guys become, sprinters instead of receivers, and you're just playing catch up the whole time. The best thing for them is to try to find out how to load up on the run and be able to stop it. I don't know how they're going to stop it as well without Dex in the game because they were struggling with him in the game.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see. But like I said, the biggest thing for the Giants, if they can figure this out, is they're going to have to run the ball themselves.
Yeah.
They're going to have to find a way to get Singletary and Tracy and get them going. And somehow, some way, again, you got to find a way to do it because if your offensive line is injured and you got injured guys that are on the outsides that will be, quote unquote, protecting the quarterback if you're going to throw the ball, it's best to have those guys blocking, run blocking, and trying to get the ball moved down the field at 4 yards a clip, 3 yards a clip, 5 yards a clip. If you can get 4 or 5 runs, like they did in the first series, you get a few runs in a row. The defense kind of got their hands on their hip and they're looking around at you, and then your defense just has to go out and just try to be serviceable to slow them down. Maybe make them kick a field goal. If you're lucky, they have to punt, and then you get back in again and run it right back at them over and over again. And then if you want to throw a play action in there, it'll look a lot better.
Right. Well, and it's like Sean O'Hara always says with the offensive line, when you're run blocking versus pass blocking, you want to be the hammer, not the nail. And that's why O-linemen loved run block, because you are the hammer in that situation. You get a couple of those hammer plays in, then you're ready for the nail moment.
Yep. You once you get guys kind of on their heels and when you see guys, the first lineman that puts his hands on his hips and takes that deep breath, you're like, okay, well, they're starting to feel it a little bit. Let's go at them again. Let's keep leaning on them. And you got to lean on them. That's the big bodies are for. If you can lean those big bodies on them for, a quarter, 2 quarters, and all of a sudden, 2 drives, 3 drives, and next thing you know, you're down in the red zone, and you just, instead of like trying to throw it into the end zone, keep running it, run it until you can't run it anymore.
Yeah.
And that takes patience. That takes you got to be on top of your game, because it's going to be monotonous. Just keep going and going and going. It's not like a 5-play drive or 6-play drive. We're talking 10, 12 plays, and you got to be you got to be patient. You got to be on top of your game. You can't make mistakes. You can't false start. You can't hold somebody. You can't have a guy downfield too early, which I think that they just like, if the Giants throw anything that looks like a screen, it's like somebody's downfield. Just throw the flag now.
Well, and it's so hard too, because the legal man downfield penalty, when you're a lineman, you don't know, especially on an option play, you don't know if it's a run or a pass. And
if you're supposed to double this guy and go up to the next level, if you got your block and I'm looking at that guy, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna kill him. This is my chance. And they threw the ball. Lord have mercy.
Right. Yeah. Thwarted.
Yep. It's just one of those things. So you got to know how to casually kind of go upfield. And in their mind, when a guy's standing back, and I know why they're going upfield, when a guy's standing back off the ball and he's not coming forward, in their mind, they're like, this is my time. We're going to make a huge hole right here, and this is our opportunity.
Right. And
they go up to get the perfect block, and they got him, and they're like, did he just throw that ball? And and it's hard for a lineman to know. Like, it's you're gonna have to take 1, 2, 3 steps and then go up. But if he hands it off,
right,
like
different ball game.
So the quarterback, the lineman, and the guards, mostly is what's happening to. They have to be able to see and understand what the quarterback's looking at.
Yeah.
And I know they do, but I don't think they, in the heat of the moment, I'm not sure.
And it's also, too, it's not exclusive to the Giants. Of course, we're really close to it, so we see it happening frequently. But it happens all across the league.
Yeah,
I think the illegal man downfield penalty, I think at some point down the road, the league might have to look at it and say, okay, how do we adjust this?
I think it's going to move to 3 yards.
Yeah, I
maybe
can see that.
three to 3.5, something like that. So you can see an actual gap between them and the line. Because most of the time when they're calling it, the guy's like a step ahead of everybody else. Once you get 3 yards down, and everybody else is kind of sitting back, and it's gonna be like, whoa, like, what is he doing out there by himself? We're like, oh, you are in trouble. Yeah. Now you can't even tell what is happening.
One of these things is not like the other. When you look at the other side of the ball, though, Giants defense, we talked about this earlier in the show, Giants defense very banged up right now, to say the least. You've got Dexter Lawrence, season-ending IR. Bobby Okereke, back is sore, not practicing today. Week to week is the official designation on day 1 of practice for this game. Myriad of players banged up on the defensive side of the ball, going against a quarterback in Derek Carr, who has been sacked the fewest times of any quarterback this season. Less than 1 sack per game. 0.8 sacks per game is the fewest.
And they've only won 4 games?
He has less than half a giveaway per game. Second fewest giveaways per game in 2024 this season. He has a 103.3 passer rating this season, which is 6th in the NFL, and it would be a career high if he keeps this up. Derek Carr is one of the only quarterbacks since 1970 to be sacked fewer than 1 time per game and have a 100-plus passer rating in a season so far. If he keeps this up for 5 more games, he is joining Peyton Manning and Dan Marino. Peyton Manning did it in 2004 and 2006, Dan Marino in 1984. And then if he finishes the season with the stats that he's on pace to do so with, Peyton Manning, Dan Marino, and Derek Carr.
I don't get it. Like it seems like they'd be, 9-1 or
it's confounding, but it's much like what's going on in Cincinnati as well. I mean, Joe Burrow is airing it out, leading the league in many statistical categories, and they're 4-7.
So does that mean that the Saints defense is like struggling mightily? That could be the only thing I could think.
Well, they have Alvin Kamara's been turning over the ball quite a bit.
Yeah.
The defense has struggled quite a bit. I mean, you look at the way the offense started the season. It was like, well, this is a whole new thing. But then the defense couldn't hold it up.
Okay.
So I think that's kind of the big thing with them. But when you look at their offense against a banged-up Giants defense,
it's going to be tough.
That's going to be tough. That's going to be a tough matchup to kind of zero in on.
But, it's one of those things that it's kind of like everybody's gotten right against us. Maybe the Giants can get right against the Saints. Since it's something that's going on with the Saints if they're 4-2. 4 and whatever.
4-8, yeah.
4-8, but it's something is going on with them that I can't put a finger on it. If Carr's having that kind of a season, the defense has got to be struggling mightily, and that means that, like I said, if the Giants start running the ball, it could give them a hard time. Keep Carr on the sideline with those great numbers.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta milk the clock. Kind of take advantage of the time of possession. Don't give up the ball as well, because the Giants, especially in the last several weeks, giveaways have been.
Yeah,
they've been listening to the Chili Peppers. Give it away, you give it away, you give it away. Now.
Yeah, well, when you get the sack from the backside, that kind of happens. I think that poor Tracy has had a couple fumbles, but it wasn't. Someone's like, oh, well, he's got to figure something out. So, one time he got hit extraordinarily hard. That's true. Going to the goal line. Yeah. And the next fumble was he took the ball as a wildcat snap. Yeah. And somebody goes, well, that shouldn't make a difference. I'm like, it kind of makes a difference, because now the ball's in front of you and you're catching it like this, and you're trying to tuck it as you go. Yeah. So and you're trying to make a decision. Are you handing it off? Are you going to throw it? So, it sounds like a great play, but if it doesn't work, it really won't work.
Well, and then, at quarterback, Drew Lock, he's got quite the arm, but he's also, through his career, been turnover prone a little bit. And with the combination of that and the receivers having their moments of drops, Darius Slayton talked about it earlier this week. He says, I know that this is a point of emphasis I need to be focused on. He talked about how Malik Neighbors' comments about, hey, I don't care how much I drop it, you got to keep throwing me the ball. I mean, Neighbors is leading all rookies with receptions, 75. And yes, it is great to continue to feed him as a talented receiver, but in talking to Amani Toomer about this as a receiver, he said, hey, a drop is the drive killer a little bit too, right?
It's more than a drive killer.
Because it's but even if it happens on first down or second down, and it doesn't end the drive, it's one of those things that takes the momentum out.
They've had a few games they've dropped the ball in the end zone, they've dropped the ball on major first downs, and it's just one of those things that a lot of body catches. The balls get into their bodies a lot, and the focus is just has not just been there. And they're not, some of the catches, I would love to say they were all tough catches, but a lot of them when they go through your hands and hit you in the chest, thank God he's not throwing spears. Yeah. Right? So they got to figure out how to get themselves together, like heighten awareness, be alert, be ready to go. So when the ball's coming, when you get your hands on it, you got to catch it. And it's a different world. I said, you're trying to be uplifting, you're trying to be trying to be there for them, but it was a time in football, if you drop that many passes, there's an aisle window. Like, what do you want to sit by? Where do you want to sit on the bus when you leave? Because we're not doing that anymore.
Right.
And so it's just, you're trying to get guys to do it. You're trying to find ways to be creative, trying to be supportive in the moment that they're having. But when it's a lot of different guys doing it, you can't be that supportive. Somebody's got to figure out how to do it.
Right, especially with the Saints team that's got 12 interceptions on the season, that's 7th most in the league. But we talked about the defense.
Yep.
They are pretty stout. They've only allowed 12 passing touchdowns, which is the 4th fewest in the NFL. But they give up yardage, a lot of yardage. They've allowed 385.1 total yards per game, which is 30th in the league.
Yeah.
249.1 passing yards per game, which is 29th in the league. So they're giving up yardage, not giving up a lot of passing touchdowns, and they are getting the takeaways.
Well, see, if that was me and I'm on the offense, I'd be very excited. I'd be like, encouraging the line, doing everything I could. Like, okay, we're going to run the ball. Let's get this play action started. I'd be excited because I thought, like, hey, look, if I get a ball on the outside to Slayton, he's probably going to the house.
Right.
If we get a ball on the outside to Hyatt, he's probably going to the house. Neighbors might get a chance to break away and outrun somebody in this game. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Or Tracy can run through.
Yeah, Tracy can. Yeah, if Tracy breaks the line of scrimmage, it doesn't seem like they're going to offer a lot in the secondary to bring him down. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, it will be for sure. Giants, Saints, Sunday, MetLife Stadium, 1 p.m. Be there or be square.
I love it.
I don't know. We'll be there. You got your heated vest charged up.
I already got my vest charged. I got my little hand warming things. I'm ready. Bring it on.
Bring it on. All right. Well,
and the colder it is, that's good for us because they're an indoor team.
That is true. That is true.
A southern indoor team at that.
It's cold out there, ladies and gentlemen. As a California girl, I have never quite fully adjusted. I only took my coat off about 5 minutes before we started this show, and I'll probably be putting it right back on.
Exactly.
Even though we're inside. But that's a wrap for our show today.
Thank you, Madeline.
Thank you, Howard. It's a blast being here, and thanks to all of our listeners for tuning in to today's episode of Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. BBKL is a part of the Giants podcast platforms everywhere and giants.com/podcast. For Howard Cross and Madeline Burke, we'll see you next time.